The Legend of Zelda is known for a lot of things. Epic battles, for example in Twilight Princess, cool puzzles, for example in Oracle of Ages, and amazing dungeons, for example in Ocarina of Time. However, it is also known for something else: secrets. Little things that are impossible to find, but when you do succeed, you will be rewarded. This whole concept was seen in the franchise from the very beginning, with the first Legend of Zelda title being filled to the brim with secrets. And there's a reason why that's the case. Miyamoto drew heavily on his childhood memories of the Kyoto countryside when making the first title. He wanted to reproduce in video game form the same sense of awe and excitement he felt when he explored the forests and caves as a youth, to introduce the pleasure of discovering things or the anxiety of becoming lost in a maze. And so secrets and hidden things became a core part of the identity of the franchise, and so you see them in most titles. However, out of all of them, there was one secret that was the hardest to find out of all, and it was very special as well. A room unlike any other. So which place am I talking about? What is found within? Why was it made? And how do you even find this secret? Well, let's find out. But first, introducing my new store, Wily.gg, the place to buy your new games and get your hands on eShop cards for Nintendo as well as Xbox. And don't forget, use code Wily at checkout to save 10%. Now let's continue. In the early days of Nintendo, video games were a lot more magical. The internet wasn't a thing after all. Well, it existed, but boy was it primitive. You couldn't really look things up, and if anyone told you of something they heard of or found, you couldn't really Google it and tell that person, bro, no, that's complete nonsense. And so we have lost something throughout the years. However, back in the 90s, we saw something cool in one of the most highly anticipated games of that era. Exactly, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of... Whoa, hey, no, yeah, that was a big one right there, I know, but there was another one that was also very important. A Link to the Past, the game that proved Nintendo finally mastered the art of creating a 2D Zelda game. This was the third main installment of the series, and the first and only title for the SNES. This was the Zelda game that finally returned back to form, because before this they released a side-scrolling and RPG-like game known as The Adventure of Link. Now, most people are not a fan of that game, especially if you compare it to the first title in the franchise. And so with this one, they returned to the overhead view and gameplay style of the first, but they expanded on it. The game introduced major new items to the series, such as the Master Sword and the concept of two different worlds, which was revisited to an extent in Ocarina of Time and some other games. In a lot of ways, this game was crucial. It introduced a lot of important things to the series that most take for granted today. And also, many people argue that this is the best 2D title they ever created. And in a lot of ways, I agree. Although I like A Link Between Worlds a little bit more. As you can imagine, people were really hyped for this title, and Nintendo tried to fuel the fire even more. Back in the day, Nintendo did some really cool things to get people excited for new titles, while also interacting with their community. For example, they had their own magazine known as Nintendo Power, which started back in 1988. It was filled with information about upcoming games, guides for existing games, interesting articles, and also cool contests with amazing prizes. And around the release of A Link to the Past, they also set up a big contest with a cool prize. They held a contest during September and October of 1990, where the winner would have their name programmed into a future NES game. As you can imagine, a lot of people lost their minds when they saw this, and everyone and their mother entered the contest, even though it was never stated in which game this cameo would occur. So you could also end up in a bit of a boring and forgettable game, and there were a lot of those. Now in the end, a person by the name Chris Julian won the contest, and he was going to be immortalized in a video game. However, the winner of the contest was never revealed by Nintendo Power, and Chris Julian has never been confirmed to even be a real person. So all of this is a bit weird, but that doesn't matter. There are a lot of things Nintendo has done that make no sense. Ultimately, the cameo appeared in an SNES game instead, this being A Link to the Past. However, no one knew this was the case, As you can imagine, Nintendo didn't announce this for a long time. Only in 1994, a secret room was finally mentioned in Nintendo Power. But they didn't tell anyone how to get there. And they even said that there were cartridges where it will never appear. So for years upon years, almost no one knew this was even in the game. So it was actually one of the most hidden secrets in the entire franchise. But then, it was found. Because if an error condition occurs while loading a screen, the game's programming sends Link to a top secret room. And this secret room is owned by Chris Julian, the winner of the competition. And it features a telepathic tile on the upper wall and a total of 225 rupees. Now the tile mentions the following: "My name is Chris Julian. This is my top secret room. Keep it between us." Okay? Now in a lot of ways it wasn't super special, but that didn't matter. It was still cool to see that they did something like this for their community. And a lot of people also loved the hunt for this forbidden room. Especially because, according to Nintendo, it wasn't seen in every version of the game. Now aside from getting a random error, there are multiple other ways of accessing the room, luckily enough. One of the most well-known ways involves Link using the Pegasus boots to dash from the sanctuary to the secret entrance to Hyrule Castle on its east side. But overall, there are loads of ways to get there, and all of them are quite weird and cryptic, as you can imagine. One other way you can access it requires you to enter a cave, walk back out, and jump into water 4 times. At that point, if you fall into a hole that's nearby, you will end up in a secret room, mostly because the game becomes confused due to what you did, and this room is used as some sort of failsafe if that happens. So you only end up there if you mess with the game a bit. Personally, I think it's pretty neat. Sure, it isn't much, but it's a cool thing that Nintendo used to do back in the day, and sadly enough they abandoned it quite quickly. In later versions of the game, they actually removed the room. Well, sort of. Imported versions of the game, Chris's name is removed, but his room remains, hidden for players to find. In these ports, the room can only be entered by glitching the code that loads each new screen, so it is a lot harder to end up there. Now, I'm quite sad that Nintendo doesn't do stuff like this anymore. Sure, a world with internet trolls might ruin such a contest, but I think it's worth a shot. But I doubt it will happen. However, one thing you can be certain of is that I have more videos like this on my channel. So be sure to check them out by clicking on the screen right now or in the upper right corner. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is another true rumor, so you guys wanted more true stuff instead of just false, so here you go. Tell me in the comments what you think about it. Leave a like, subscribe, bell button, all that stuff. I answer all the comments in the first week, so tell me what you think. Yippee, more ideas, anything. Bye, kisses. Mwah.